Hello, my dear IT school students. So last time we discussed we talked about data sets, right? So today we're going to discuss the facets of data and then what are those types of data. If you want to be a data scientist, you are expected to handle a big amount of data or huge amount of data from different data types. Okay, so those data are structured and unstructured data. Now, I don't want to read this one. I don't want to read it again because I know you have there in your module. I'm just giving you an example of it. Okay, so structured data are those data that is being saved in a certain database. Okay, just like SQL. Okay, some is a DBMS or database management system, but the language that is being used of it is the SQL or the structured query language. Okay, so uh, uh, file system that has a rows and columns on it. Okay, so those are structured data. So the good example for it is if you are going to develop a system, okay, and for example POS, points of system, monitoring, so those data are being saved in your database. Those are considered as structured data. Okay, for example, if in your POS you have logs, for example, this day product name, for example sardines, quantity 3, and then price is 15. Those data are structured. That means um, it has a good foundation because you have your rows and columns and it's being organized well. Okay, this is a structured data, okay, in the database. And then in unstructured data, so easy to fit into data model. Okay. So for example, you're just copy and pasting your photograph or picture. Those are unstructured data because out of nowhere you're just pasting your photograph in a certain desktop. Okay. Those are unstructured data, but or let's say for example emails, because it has an email example right here. So emails, you are sending messages from your email to another email address, right? So those, and then the ones who are uh, receiving it is just like, oh, there's a new message or new email, and then if it is going on or sending you repeatedly, it will consider that as a spam, right? So those are just unstructured data because just coming out of nowhere. And but those unstructured data has a metadata. Okay? Metadata. Metadata. That metadata contains information of a certain photograph, file, or application. So for example, you are let's have this as an example. Okay, so I hope you can see this one. So if I right click properties, this one, this photograph picture, you will see where is it located, how big it is the size, when was the last time it was modified, when was the last time it's being modified. Okay, so those are um, structured data in unstructured data. Okay, so somewhat it is being mixed. Okay, unstructured data is just like a lake or an ocean, you know, and you can have as many as unstructured data, but those unstructured data has an information, and those information belongs to structured data. Okay, so I hope you understand the difference between them. Okay, so we also have here natural language. So natural language is a special type of unstructured data. Okay, so it's challenging to process because it requires knowledge of specific data science techniques. So these natural language is a process. Actually, this is also a process. When you are translating to a Google, okay? When you use the Google Translate, those information are being chopped bit by bit. For example, you're going to translate from English to Tagalog, Tagalog to English. So word by word, it will be chopped, and then the compiler will try to match any to match words from a certain chopped information. So that is natural language of a certain algorithm, especially the Google's algorithm, some other algorithm that has an AI on it that will be the one who translate. Just like we tried when we used the Google Meet, right? So when we tap the CC or caption, every time I speak, every time I speak, there is a generated words. So if you speak, if you read out loud, if you speak out loud, so and then if your voice is clear, it will automatically transcript your voice. So this is that the term of it is transcript, from your voice to the text. So if you want to be a transcriptionist, it is also a good extra income if you wish. So try to research a transcription site or job. Okay. So that is very handy because you are just transcripting voices. Yes, recognition, summarization, diba? The text completion. So if you have tried using, if you try to use Cortana, or before we have text-to-speech, and this is where they belong, in natural language. Okay. Now we have here the machine-generated data. So the definition says information that is automatically created by a computer, process application, or without human intervention. So this was a good example of this is if you tried to use a kiosk. Have you tried to use a kiosk in 7-Eleven or ATM machines? Okay. So ATM machines will generate a receipt, right? Right after you withdraw some amount of money, and then if you wish to have a receipt, it will automatically produce a receipt containing the information: how much money did you withdraw, and then what location. I don't think they included there. I don't use ATM very often. Maybe before I used ATM, but for now, I don't have it. Okay. So that is machine generated. Very straightforward example. I don't need to read this out loud. Okay. Machine generated data is information that is produced by a machine. for example, ATM machines, and some other printing devices that is used, especially POS also. But if you click to print, it will generate receipt. Okay. Graph-based or network data. So it can be a confusing term because any data can be shown in a graph. So example of graph-based data can be found on social media website. Minsan LinkedIn. Does any one of you have already LinkedIn? Okay. So this is also very good site for you to find a job, because if you are going to post your information and then upload your CVs or resumes and then your work experiences, they will see your skills and information, and then the company will contact you. Some other companies will contact you. So for example, your followers list on Twitter, if you have Twitter or something. I don't have it. Okay, so those are examples of graph-based data. Audio, image, and video. Audio, image, data types that pose specific challenges to data scientists. Okay, recognizing objects in pictures. I mean, this is very high technology algorithm that is being used in today's world. Okay, so have you? Of course, we already tried it. That it will recognize, especially on Facebook, Google. It if you post your picture, and then it will automatically recognize who is that in a certain photograph, right? So that is very high-tech of audio, image, and video data. The uses are AI or artificial intelligence na algorithm. Okay. The streaming data. While streaming data can take almost any of previous forms, it has an extra property. Okay, so streaming. So just like what we are using right now, Facebook Live, YouTube streaming. So those are also part of data, but streaming data. Now, if you're wondering how much, if you are, so for example, if you are subscribed to Go Globe promos, like free, what are the Globe promos that has a free YouTube every day? Basta yung promos that has a free YouTube every day, 1 gig every day. Those free data is only works on streaming data. Okay, so once you stream, it will not deduct your data, allocated data, which is I think 2 gigabytes. Then you have 1 gig allowance every day for streaming data. Okay, so the good tip for it, if you want to stream online, and then if you wish to save it, try to use some screen recording application or software in your desktop, so that you will save your data. Okay, while watching your screen recording. So it is a very tricky way of saving your data, but it is very helpful. Okay, so brief history of data science. Oh, it's 15 minutes already. So I think we'll stop here, and then I'll continue this one in part 2 because YouTube is only limiting uploads in 15 minutes, only for 15 minutes. Okay, so see you on part 2.